Welcome to this explainer. Let's dive right into a seriously fascinating paradox. Think of our animated stickman friend here. Chained down by some heavy, invisible weight, yet staring eagerly at a massive, exciting vision of the future. We're talking about why you have such incredibly massive dreams. You can literally see yourself succeeding. Yet you completely freeze up when it's time to actually do the work. It's an incredibly common pattern, and today, we're going to break down the exact psychology of why it happens.
You know exactly what I'm talking about here, right? You wake up, best intentions in the world. You tell yourself, okay, today is the day I finally start. But then, somehow, you just can't seem to make yourself move. You think, oh, I'll do it after lunch. And then you're feeling a bit unmotivated. And suddenly, the whole day just slips away. And you're left sitting there wondering why you're stuck in place, especially when you know, deep down, you're capable of so much more.
And you know this cycle all too well. It starts off with good intentions, but then, you pick up your phone, just for a second, right? Well, a few minutes of scrolling magically turns into hours of lost time, putting our little stickman friend right under a heavy, dark rain cloud of doom. That leads straight into lying in bed, feeling deeply guilty, feeling disappointed, and ending with that classic empty promise. Tomorrow will be different, but the cycle just repeats. So here's the absolute most crucial point. This isn't a character flaw. It's really not a lack of talent or intelligence. This is actually just your brain stuck in survival mode. You're basically living in this constant state of conflict where one part of you wants to achieve great things, but the primitive part, it just wants safety and ease. When you think about working on a hard goal, your brain sees effort and uncertainty as a literal physical threat. Seriously. To your primitive brain, starting that complex spreadsheet or writing that first chapter feels exactly the same as facing down a hungry saber-toothed tiger. It's literally just trying to protect you.
And to escape that tiger, your brain offers you an easy out, a locked door to hide behind. That's the short-term comfort of a quick dopamine hit. Scrolling, watching streams, firing up a video game. The discomfort goes away instantly. But here is the absolute tragedy of this mechanism. While it protects you from short-term discomfort, it is actively stealing your long-term happiness in the process. Every single time you choose comfort, you're basically teaching your brain that your dreams just don't matter.
And hey, let's absolutely destroy the myth of high standards right now. You might think you're just waiting for the perfect plan, or until you feel entirely ready, or until the stars align and conditions are ideal, but guess what? Perfect never comes. Perfectionism is not about excellence. It's a trap. It is just your brain getting you a very convincing excuse to never start. Because think about it, if you never start, you can never fail. Which leads us to a much deeper truth. Deep down, you stay in the safe little starry bubble of planning because, well, it protects you. As long as you don't step out of that bubble and actually try, you don't have to face the terrifying possibility of realizing your ideas might fail. If you never test your dreams in the real world, you get to hold on to this hollow, comfortable belief that you could succeed if you just tried.
So it's time for a fundamental reframe. Think of our animated stickman staring helplessly at an impossible gap versus actually getting to work and building the stairs across it. Here's the secret. Failure isn't the opposite of success. Inaction is the true opposite of success. When you fail, you actually learn something. But when you do nothing, you learn absolutely nothing. Every single successful person you admire has failed more times than you have even tried. The only difference is they took imperfect action instead of just doing nothing. You also have to let go of this massive myth that you just need more motivation. Honestly, motivation is nothing more than a passing breeze. Feelings come, feelings go. You absolutely cannot build a life on motivation. Discipline, on the other hand, that is a solid brick wall you build one tiny decision at a time. It's doing the work even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. So how do we actually break this cycle? First, you got to accept a hard truth. You are never going to feel like doing it, period. Discipline feels terrible at first. So here's what you do. Pick one tiny thing, maybe just 15 minutes of work or writing a single paragraph, and then do it despite every fiber of your being screaming at you to grab your phone. Don't try to completely change your life overnight. Just start small. And why does this matter so much? Because every single time you take action despite that heavy mental resistance, you are physically rewiring the gears in your brain. You're teaching it that discomfort is not dangerous. And if you do this a few times, it actually gets easier. I mean, not totally easy, but definitely easier. Your brain adapts, and eventually that super loud internal resistance starts to quiet down. But listen, you can't rely on your mind alone here. Your environment is controlling you way more than you probably realize. Successful people don't have magic willpower. They just have much, much better systems. You need to aggressively design your environment so the default action is the productive one. Put your phone in another room, turn off all those notifications, clear off your messy desk, and close every single unnecessary tab on your computer.
You want to make it significantly harder to be distracted than it is to focus. Think of your daily focus kind of like a battery. By putting your phone in another room and removing those constant temptations, you are removing real-time decisions. And every decision you do not have to make saves precious mental energy. Energy you can finally actually put towards your dreams and goals. Now, here is a tough truth to swallow, especially for those of us who just love to learn. Sitting there binging productivity content, reading success articles, listening to endless motivational audio tracks, it tricks your brain. It makes you feel like our little stick man is actually moving that heavy pile of rocks. But it's just stalling. It really is just another form of avoidance. You don't need more information. You already know what you need to do.
You absolutely have to stop learning and start executing. And to do that, you must make peace with the fact that your first attempt at anything is going to be absolutely terrible. Every single expert was once a beginner. Every masterpiece started as a really rough draft. You have to give yourself permission to be bad at the start. Just embrace the messy, terrible first draft.
Because you aren't trying to be great right now. You're literally just trying to show up. You're trying to build the habit. Consistency is what builds the habit, and the quality, that will naturally follow later. Think about the stick man again. If you just lay down those initial rough building blocks, the shiny, high-quality stars will come eventually. If you focus on being consistent rather than being perfect, you're going to finally start creating some real momentum.
Now, as you start taking action, keep in mind that your path is going to look like a messy, tangled scribble. Progress is never a straight line, folks. You're going to feel resistance. You'll have days where you fall right back into your old scrolling patterns and just skip your goals entirely. And you know what? That is completely normal. The people who succeed don't magically avoid mistakes. They just don't let one bad day turn into a bad week.
So when you do mess up, put down the mental mallet. Seriously, do not lie in bed beating yourself up. We've already seen that loop. Guilt and shame do not make you better. They absolutely do not motivate you. In fact, beating yourself up just makes the problem worse and reinforces that exact same cycle of avoidance we're trying so hard to break out of. Instead of guilt, you need to practice radical self-compassion. I want you to talk to yourself the exact same way you would talk to a good friend who just had a really bad day, with real warmth and reassurance. Acknowledge the setback, forgive yourself, and get right back on track the very next day. Forgiveness isn't letting yourself off the hook. It's simply giving yourself the permission to try again without carrying the super heavy weight of yesterday's failures.
I really want you to internalize this next point. Think of that dark monster of avoidance chasing our stick man. That is not you. Lazy is not your identity. You are not broken. Lazy is simply a temporary pattern of avoiding discomfort because your brain just hasn't learned yet that discomfort leads to growth. It is what you have been doing, not who you are. And because this pattern was built over time, it can absolutely be changed. Understanding your psychology is the first step, but it really all comes down to this one powerful equation. Ambition without action is just a fantasy. But by balancing the fierce discipline to act, even when you really don't feel like it, with the gentle self-compassion to forgive your inevitable mistakes, you create a real formula for unstoppable momentum and lasting change.
Look, nobody is coming to save you from yourself, and you are entirely capable of so much more. So I'm leaving you with a challenge. As soon as this explainer ends, close this tab. Are you going to take just 15 minutes right now to start building your actual life, or are you going to let tomorrow become just another yesterday? The choice is yours. Go get to work.